Hey, guys. Altovise here, your voice manager. And it is another episode of the #SpeakEasy Podcast, where we talk about what it means to be the successfully paid speaker, author, entrepreneur. And let's be honest, this series of Life After COVID is one that was needed and necessary for us to be able to not only maneuver through all of the happenstance that's been going on, but also for us to be able to not just survive it, thrive. We want to be able to come out on top, not come out devastated and full of destruction. So with that being said, I'm excited about my guest today because she's going to touch on a few topics that are really significant in this time as we move through COVID and as we come out of COVID. With that being said, hello, Susan. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm super excited to have you as a guest today. So let the studio audience know a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into today's topic.
Okay, so for brevity, I am Susan Appleton. I'm the CEO of Appleton Communications, and our focus is to help entrepreneur, nonprofit, and corporate leaders to really accelerate their success by developing high-level communication, people, and relationship skills. So what is the value that people add, and how do you drive your business through that lane?
Ooh-wee. And that is such a great place to start, because throughout COVID, we had a reality check. Let's just be honest. And we really had to determine what is my value? Do I really have a value? And unfortunately, some people had a reality check that what they thought they had that was valuable, it wasn't even that valuable. So let's talk about that a little bit, Susan, and what that really looks like for somebody who's in that space saying, how do I really determine my value?
I think one of the things that we want to focus on when we say determine our value is COVID took all of us by surprise and really impacted all of us in different ways. But the value that you had prior to COVID still exists. So even if it was a change in your corporate setting, you were one of the ones who were impacted by your position pausing before it pivoted to being at home, or you were an entrepreneur and like me and some other entrepreneurs, your business took a hit and you had to adjust. But there were pieces of those things, in addition to some of the things that I haven't mentioned, that were valuable before. And I think what COVID helped us to do was, or it didn't really help us, it forced us to pinpoint what was really valuable and how we could take what we had and bring it forward. So I encourage everyone to look at, what did you consider valuable before? And be realistic. Some things we considered valuable were really superficial. So COVID helped us to drop that. So drop it and leave it. However, you as a person, your contribution to the organization, your ability as a leader to adjust, adjusting in your home. So even if you lost your way in terms of your value in your workplace or in your business, there was some impact, some value continued to be added on a personal level. So grab that and start to rebuild from there. Don't think that everything has to be thrown away, because it doesn't. And then build upon that, one little block at a time. My other input for that is, tell yourself every day, I am valuable. So we look at things or positions or businesses to help us to understand what our value might be. But your value really starts within. You got to believe that thing way deep down, not every day, all day, because that's unrealistic. But you've got to believe that thing And you have to have something that helps you to affirm that for you. And it could be an affirmation. It could be something else. But what is it that helps you inwardly to affirm that I am valuable, I am here, my contribution is a significant contribution, and I am going to hold on to that to go from one day to the next day, one moment sometimes to the next moment, one microsecond sometimes to the next microsecond. But put that in your space and grab it and hold on to it and build little by little by little until you get back to that point where there's nothing that you don't think that makes you just phenomenal.
That part. And, you brought up a great word that I want to make sure that we put out into the atmosphere is, adjustments. And I think because we, as a society, the people that come on and listen in to the SpeakEasy podcast, man, they're from all over the world. And this is the first time that I've ever encountered it in my life where the whole world has had to make adjustments at the same time. And it's scary for many. It's, we don't like change. We don't like somebody else telling us we have to change or, making us change. And so it's been a huge adjustment. But I think that one of the things we've seen, if we compare where we are right now to our history, is that those who are unwilling to adjust, they fall by the wayside.
Absolutely. And I think for that, let's talk a little bit about the new normal, right? And accepting the new normal. It is an absolute. It is not likely that we are going to go back to what we considered normal before in its same state with its same situations and circumstances. COVID has changed that for us. And so when we talk about the new normal, one of the things that I think will help us is embrace that. It is a definitive change. And it is almost a year since COVID in February when the world shut down. So even if it's something that will go forward into the future, the adjustment is now. And so I think what stands in our way a lot of times is that push and pull that you just talked about with people not wanting to accept change. But the world moves on change. And we always have a choice. Either you are going to embrace the change and make that thing work for you, or you are going to let it stand still. Now, that sounds easier than it is sometimes, depending on your circumstance. And that's where that circle, that exactly. So I think did we get through the adjustment piece? I made sure I kept talking.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
So we gonna figure that out. And it was good too. And I was like, oh, okay. I see what's going on here. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to get this information out because somebody needed
it. That means somebody needs it, doesn't it?
That's right. Somebody needed it. Oh, my goodness. So picking up where we left off and talking about that new normal is something that's been, man, it's interesting because we talk about it in hushed tones and we talk about it kind of amongst ourselves, but we don't really hear anybody in like major industries really putting it out there that, hey, this is the new normal, make adjustments. Hey, go ahead, fight for this, go ahead and learn how to do this, take this into consideration. And it's kind of eerie because it's like, wow, we are literally sitting in the midst of history being remade and reformed. And it's either we're going to come out of this on the good side of this, or we're going to come out and look and go, have we really fallen all the way back to the 1800s with this? Like, what is really going on? And I even think about in entrepreneurship, there are companies that went through the Depression. There are companies that went through the different plague and you know, all it. And even when we think about, I made a statement to my children because I said, you know, when the Ebola virus went and was like running rampant, we were like sitting and watching, I think it was Outbreak, and Ebola was like one of the things in one of like the rooms they had at the beginning of the movie. And we were like, oh, it's a conspiracy. Yeah. And they did the same thing with the coronavirus, with it being on the back of the wipes containers and stuff. So, I mean, we're seeing things that we've seen before, but I definitely think with the new normal, it's a great time because it puts everybody, like this year, we were all on the same playing field.
Yes. Yes. I agree to a certain level. We all, whether it was a little stop, a long stop, or what for some people, hopefully, is not a permanent stop. But we all had to stop. And we all had to make an adjustment and make an assessment of where we were. And I think the thing about that, especially from an entrepreneur side, I know one of the things that it did for me was I was already in the streamlining of it all. And it just really helped me to streamline what was, let's call necessity, and what was extra. So I didn't have the time, the energy, the bandwidth for me or my team to focus on the extra. We had to streamline further and focus on the necessity. And I think when you're talking about those conversations in corporate America that are not happening, the expectation was that we just did it. That we just, it's the new normal. We jump on board. And so I think for those who are in corporate, if the conversation isn't being had, and if you're in a position, especially a position of leadership, bring that dialogue to the table. Because now we have some semblance of what our new normal is going to look like, but there's still opportunities to pull people because everybody, like we were talking about before, doesn't know how to do it. And if you figured it out a little bit, then it is our responsibility as an entrepreneur or as a leader to begin to engage people so that we can help them along the way and not just assume, oh, well, this is how we're doing it today. Everybody understands how we're doing it today. So let's everybody just do it. No, I'm a mother at home. There's a mother at home with a husband and children and homeschooling and all of those things. And yet I'm still expected to carry out my responsibilities just like I did before, but it's not before. So what can you do to help me? What can you do to help me to get to my place of stability? My place of understanding my contribution? My place of blending it all with what my place of blending it all and being able to move forward successfully in my own definition.
That part, moving forward, and oh my goodness. And I think one of the things we have to add into this is the strength like knowing our own strength, knowing our own power. This was definitely a time for us to be able to go and really have a clear understanding of what that strength was that we had, our power. And if we didn't have a clear understanding of it, we crumbled.
Right.
Because we attached ourselves so much to the labels. We attached ourselves to the titles, to the positions, to the accolades, to, I literally, one of the things that I redid for Christmas was I redid my office. And so I went through and had to get rid of a ton of stuff. And I had all of these certificates for my children. And I was like, oh, I was all mom gushing all over it. Oh, absolutely. I remember this. And my children are looking at me going, it's a piece of paper. And I was like, but no, this is, you worked really hard. It's a piece of paper.
That's really good, from the mouths of babes, huh? And
I was just like, ouch.
That's really that is wonderful that even came up, because it does help us to understand how quickly we attach to something before we attach to the person of the something. So in that instance, of course, you're attached, you love your children, you guys have that relationship, but you're holding on to that paper when in essence, it is literally just a thing. And so coming back to self is going to be really important for us going forward, especially because, COVID hits differently. In the aftermath of COVID has hit differently. So for some of us, it was a slight impact. For others of us, it was a great impact. For some, it's been a devastating impact. And so coming back to self is going to be really important when we talk about moving forward in the things that we discussed, our value, our making the adjustment, our ability to pivot in the right direction, to have those conversations. And as a communicator, this is where I really, really encourage you to identify one person. I always say you only really need one who you can pour yourself out to without judgment, for a listening ear, sometimes for a feedback, but who is that person that is going to help you to be able to come back to yourself, to be okay when the kids say, Mom, it's just a piece of paper. You're devastated because they're like moved on from it and you want to hold on to it for the next 500 years, and then clean house. That's what you talked about. You talked about cleaning house and decluttering. And that's just not for our spaces. That's for ourselves. And who's your declutterer? The other side of that is the person has to be someone who not just respects you, but can help to hold you accountable. Because if I have to agree with you all the time, if I'm not allowed to say to you in plain language when you could do better, then I might not be the person who you want to help to come back to yourself with. Because I'm not really going to help you to grow. We gonna stay stuck together because, oh my God, you're so wonderful and so beautiful. Oh, and it's gonna be all right. Well, sometimes it simply is not. And I have to be able to help you to help yourself. That's the goal. Not as a therapist, but as a whatever. Is it a therapist? Is it a sister? Is it a sister friend? Is it a husband? Who is it? Just one.
I love that. Oh my goodness. That is this episode, guys. Y'all are going to dive in. You may have to go back and re-listen to it a few times and just allow it to, filter through your sha-na-na as we kind of maneuver through this whole COVID scenario. Because guess what? It's not anything that we've ever dealt with before. And we may never deal with it again. But the reality is that you have some skills, you have some tips and resources, you have a community of people that can help you to maneuver through situations just like that. With that being said, Susan, let them know how they can reach out to you for more information and where they can find you online.
All across social media, I am at Susan Appleton. And you can reach me at Appleton Communication with no S.com, Susan at AppletonCommunication.com, or you can call me. My phone number is 832-600-1828. And Altovise, thank you so much for the platform, for what you are doing, what you're bringing to the table, and how you are walking in your power to help us to just simply continue to get better. So I appreciate the opportunity and I applaud you for what you're doing.
My pleasure. My pleasure. SpeakEasy Podcast listeners, I do it all for y'all because guess what? Without the SpeakEasy Podcast listeners, there would be no SpeakEasy Podcast. And so we shout out to our listeners who are connecting with us from all over the world. We just shot up when it comes to listeners in India and a few other places. I absolutely love it. Yeah. And shout out to Paula McDowell for leaving us a comment over on the YouTube channel. We actually appreciate that. She's staying engaged and listening in. And guess what? Shouting us out on social media. We appreciate it each and every time. If you have not done so already, make sure you come and join the conversation. You can do so by leaving us a review on your favorite podcasting platform or come join the free Facebook community, bit.ly/World Voice Community. We would love to connect and collaborate with you. That parts. And we want to make sure that you are getting something from the episodes that we are putting out into the world. And I cannot leave out of this episode without talking about our amazing sponsor, Good Living Now, who has the black seed oil. You guys know that I've been taking black seed oil before the COVID happened. It was definitely a great choice, but I want you to see for yourself what it could possibly do. Go to bit.ly/A Greater Life, and you can actually read the story of Harold LaFond, who is actually the owner and operator of the company, and he was using black seed oil as he was going through cancer. So you want to read up on his story, take it in, look at it, and determine if the black seed oil is something that you can add to your healthy journey. bit.ly/A Greater Life. I appreciate you guys. I love you. And make sure that you go and share this episode out. Until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.